Welcome in, Hawks fans. Your boy Rice Lewis back at it again for another Believe in Hawks episode. Obviously, disappointing loss tonight in the play-in tournament. Hawks getting blown out by the Orlando Magic tonight, 120 to 95. A lot of knee-jerk reactions right now. A lot of people pissed off. A lot of people upset. A lot of people asking stupid questions. People pushing their narratives. A lot of different things are happening right now. And I'm here to talk to you all about it right now on the Believe in Hawks podcast tonight. Obviously, if you enjoyed the episode, subscribe to the channel, like the video, leave a comment down below. Also follow me on X at Pricey_2K as well. Obviously tonight, Orlando just came out and did what they wanted to do tonight. I mean, I think Orlando is a tough matchup for the Hawks due to size reasons. Where the injuries that the Hawks have suffered play a big part in why it's hard for them, right? First quarter, they made that run towards the end of the first. Hawks unable to get offense going. And I think that obviously is a big part of this. Hawks could not go through a stretch like that where they couldn't score. Puts them behind the 8 ball. Now you're fighting back where it feels like the most of the last month, the Hawks have been fighting back in a lot of games because of early deficits. One key stat I want to point out to you guys, 4 threes. That's how many threes the Hawks made tonight. You are not beating an NBA team hitting 4 threes. That's just as simple as I can put it to you. You're not beating anybody. The Hawks and multiple defenses, especially like physical defenses, have done this to the Hawks. They have allowed, and the thing is, Orlando's actually one of the best teams at guarding the 3, and that has played a part. But the Hawks couldn't shoot tonight. And I think with the rotation you saw, it makes sense. Can't shoot, so you can't stretch the defense. Defense doesn't have to worry about the 3 ball, which then you can't create spacing, and then it leads to harder offense, which Orlando wants to be in a half-court game. That's when their defense thrives. Hawks are not as great in the half-court because they don't have multiple guys who can create outside of Trae Young. So that was a big issue. Obviously, this was a game where you lost the rebounding battle 54-42. You had 12 offensive boards for Orlando, 9 for Atlanta. Hawks only turned the ball over 7 times, so they were clean with the ball this game, but still only shot 38% from the field. Orlando shot 48%. Hawks lost 3-point battle by 7. They also left 7 free throws at the free throw line, only had 22 assists, which obviously that's an indication of what Orlando's defense did tonight against the Hawks. Before I get into the big topics coming out of tonight's game, I just want to give a shout out to Mo Gueye. Played probably one of his best games tonight. He's played well in the last week and a half of the season. Really did a great job on Paolo tonight. Paolo struggled against Gueye in his length. He was working. He was able to, he seemed more confident out there. I think you've seen a more confident Gueye. You've seen a more impactful guy. I mean, listen, for a guy who Quinn has pulled and played 9 minutes, 12 minutes some nights, the fact that tonight he went to Gueye and said, you know what, Gueye, you're going to be playing about, you're going to be playing about 26 minutes tonight. He really did a good job. He's also the only Hawk with a positive plus-minus in the starting lineup tonight, Mo Gueye. Because they needed him in a matchup against it, and he did his job. But I think, the overarching issue is the lack of depth they have at the bigs due to injuries. Which I'll start there first. Obviously, this is a game where if you don't like Onyeka Okongwu or don't think he should be the center, this was a game that you're like, C. So Onyeka Okongwu did not play well tonight. There's nothing. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you guys. He didn't play well tonight, right? He got out hustled tonight by Wendell Carter. That happens. You don't want it to happen, but it happens. You wish you had a little bit more from him, of course. But I think tonight you also saw, again, the lack of depth that they have in the front court. Because outside of Okongwu and Gueye tonight, Barlow was, I think the Hawks were outscored by like 11 points in Barlow minutes. And I know a big stretch of the game tonight was the fourth quarter when the Hawks started with the Barlow Niang lineup. And I get why Quinn did it. He tried to give them some type of rest before they finish the game. As a coach, it's tough in those spots because Gueye played a big chunk of the third. I think Okongwu almost. I think if he didn't play the entire third quarter, he played most of the third quarter. You're trying to give him some type of just a minute or two, 3 minutes maybe, to just get some rest and get back into the game. But at the same time, one of your worst front courts that you can put on the floor is Barlow and Niang because neither one of them are rim protectors and they're not great defensively. And Orlando immediately took advantage of that, especially when Cole Anthony came into the game, who wrecked the Hawks tonight. He was on a heater tonight. He played with energy and it was just his night. But you can't go with that front court. And I think a lot of people can look at that decision. And again, this is for my people who think Quinn should be fired. This fits their narrative. This is going to allow them to say CCC. So, and I listen, that wasn't a great rotational decision to go with that right there, of course. So, listen, there are multiple things tonight that cost the Hawks. But again, I said this on X. I said, listen, this is a time where you wish you had Clint Capella. You wish you had Clint. You wish you had Jalen. Obviously you wish you had both, but if you just had one, that would make a major difference tonight. People forget the Hawks with the fact that Barlow's playing and they're down to their third center, right? Well, fourth center really because Larry Nance isn't healthy. So you're down to your fourth center, and they treat him as a fourth center, right? Obviously, like I said, you want a better performance from Okongwu tonight. And like I said, I think Okongwu's in John Collins territory right now where every game he's bad, people are going to destroy him. Every game he's good, the people who destroy him are not going to say anything. It is what it is. But that's what you got right now with the Hawks. So that obviously wasn't great from that perspective because really it was the other guys for Orlando tonight that beat the Hawks. It was Wendell Carter. It was Cole Anthony. It was Anthony Black. Those are the guys who beat the Hawks tonight. It wasn't Paolo and Franz. The Hawks had a game plan for those guys, and for the most part, they did a pretty decent job. It was the other guys, and that's usually sometimes what you bank on as a team. Usually they're always like, we slow down their stars, and the other guys beat us, then hats off to them. And that's kind of what the Hawks did tonight. But you also weren't expecting your offense to be as bad as it was tonight. The offense was bad for the Hawks. No one outside of Trey and basically Niang gave you anything offensively, and Gueye gave you 12 points. You didn't get much from Zach. You didn't get much from Dyson. You didn't get much from Okongwu. You didn't get much from Levert. You didn't get much from Mann. And Mann only played one stretch of this game. Played the first half, and then Krejci played the second half. Both didn't play well. So I think that it was just the playoffs is such an interesting part of the NBA season because you always hear about role players play better at home than on the road. But in the playoffs, it feels like it becomes even more prevalent. Like it really feels like role players on the road struggle. And at home, they'll play better. So I expect the Hawks role players to be better at home on Friday against whoever wins the battle of Chicago and Miami. I expect them to be better in that game. And listen, Trae Young didn't have a great first half, but in the third quarter was able to kind of come alive and get the team back within 3 points. And, it's funny when we got back within 3 points, when Krejci missed that alley-oop and tried to give it back to Levert and it was a turnover, I knew it right there. I said, yep, that's it. You can just tell sometimes watching these games, like, oh, yeah, they didn't do that. It's over. We're cooked. We're cooked. And that's what happened, right? So, I think that's been an issue, and a lot of people, I mean, you're like I said, knee-jerk reactions, terrible takes. People are talking about, oh, the Hawks need to blow it up. Again, what are you blowing up exactly? Congo's 24, Jalen's 23, Zach's 20, I think Dyson's 22. What, you going to trade young players for young players? Is that what we're doing? What are you blowing up? We literally had articles at the beginning of the season saying the Hawks had one of the top 10 best young cores in the league. And they were excluding Trae Young from that. So what are we blowing up exactly? you trading Zach and them? Like, what does that mean? It all, to me, it sounds like more of just Trae Young. Don't have to touch anybody else on the roster, but Trae, right? And people are like, I can't believe Trae has to go through this. And listen, I'll say this again. Trae Young was on board with the plan. The Hawks told him a plan. The plan is what you see. Obviously, you have key injuries to key players that is impacting the team's performance, like a lot of teams would be impacted, and you get what you get. Yes, of course, there are things that you can nitpick and say the Hawks did this and the Hawks did that, and da. Listen, I know some people reflect on the trades of losing Bogey and losing Dre and think, oh my God, we could have kept these guys. Listen, I get it. It's easy when you see these types of games and have this type of thing to reflect and say, we should have did this, we could have did this. Everybody can do that. Every team, all 30 teams and fan bases do that if something don't go their way. But people are just acting like I think so many people are looking at the fact we've been in the play-in 4 times in a row as why we need to blow it up, but don't understand it's a different situation this time around in the last 3 years. When you had DeJounte and Trae, you thought that those two could come together and make the team better, right? Now you kind of retooled your team, got some young guys who you're going to be excited about in the future and continue to build around moving forward. With that, you think there's a high future. You know, people are questioning the rebuild. Well, is our rebuild even good? The thing is that we didn't go through a full rebuild in terms of we're going to be really, really bad, draft players, and then become good. That's not the rebuild, but they went through a reset, a retooling period where they were able to remain competitive, but still now kind of change the trajectory of this team moving forward. And I think, again, people want instant gratification. They want instant impact. They want to know right now the fruits of that labor. And listen, I've said this, literally said this. Next year will be the year that the Hawks and Quinn Snyder will be under pressure to win games because now, with the way the team is looking, you probably should be a non-play-in team. You should be a top 6 seed in the Eastern Conference. If everybody stays healthy, I've said it. The front office knows what they need to do this offseason. Your starting lineup will be set. You know, it's going to be Dyson, it's going to be Trae, it's going to be Jalen, it's going to be Zach, and it's going to be a Okongwu. And everybody wants to come. Even if they draft a center, he's not getting benched. Y'all just got to get that right. He's not getting benched. They're not going to bench a Okongwu. They're just not. There's no reason to. You're benching him because of size, not because of play. The rookie, whoever you draft, may not even be able to get you a double-double on a consistent basis, but y'all going to want him in there just for the rim protection. And listen, the Hawks do need to add size. I'm not denying that. I'm just saying that, like, if anything, you're drafting a center maybe for the future if you want to move on from Okongwu, but that's not going to happen next year, so he'll be your starting center. The thing that you need to figure out is your bench unit. I think Gueye playing this way gives you confidence going into the offseason, whenever that is, that he can be your backup 4 or even play some 5. You draft a big or sign a big, boom, your front court is now solved. Realistically, there's a strong chance you'll only add one front court player who's going to play in the rotation next year. That's going to be different than what you have this year at full strength. Realistically, if we're being honest. And then you maybe re-sign Larry Nance. And, I mean, listen, you have Niang under contract for a year. I've said I think Niang's not going to be here next year, but we'll see. Terrence Mann, couldn't really play him tonight. Could be an option as well. LeVert, again, you saw the positive of the Caris LeVert experience. 31 against Philadelphia. See tonight, for the most part, there's a lot of LeVert save us hoops, and it isn't always pretty. So, again, there's a lot you can nitpick from this game and say the Hawks should be able to do, and the Hawks need this and da-da-da-da-da, X, Y, and Z, and everything. But I think tonight Orlando just is a bad matchup for the Hawks. And they exploited that tonight. They got what they needed to do from done with their team, and they won. Like I said, Hawks got to go home to Atlanta. You're at home, State Farm, 2 days off, do or die. Now, obviously, you win that game, you play Sunday, so you get a day off. You got to travel, day off, boom, go to game one. If you win that against Cleveland on Sunday, and I think that Cleveland game is likely to be a early game too. So like you're not even gonna get a full 48 hours. So you can pretty much chalk up game one as an L for the Hawks, more than likely, if they get to Cleveland just because of that, just off the rest factor alone. But, you know, there's a lot of guys who could have played better tonight, who could have stepped up tonight and gave a better performance than they did. We can easily point that out. But we just have to see how it goes. Like I said, Quinn didn't have his greatest moments. Dyson didn't have his greatest moments. Vert didn't have his greatest moments. Yang didn't have his greatest moments. A lot of guys didn't have the greatest moments, man. But you have what you have with the roster that's been given, and healthy to you. You know, because I think sometimes we, like I said, we are such instant gratification people that we want to see instant, and then we kind of lose reason. We kind of just forget. Okay, well, why are we in this spot? Why are we in this position? How could we not be in this position? Trust me, I'm not saying the game would have completely swung on the pendulum, but like if Clint Capella played tonight, even if he doesn't give you a lot offensively, because Barlow didn't give you offensively either. Just the fact that he has some size would have played a major factor, because now you could say, oh, we could sit a Kongwu or Gay more because we have Clint Capella. You don't have that luxury tonight. Like that's the biggest thing about the playoffs, realistically, is every coach, you want a roster that you're saying, if I have to go to someone, I can trust them. We know it's there. Even if you shorten your rotation, that guy who you took out of your rotation is one of the first guys you're going to put into rotation that you trust. Right? Right now, the Hawks, even Vic Krejci tonight, didn't play well when he came in the second half. He was not good. I've mentioned rebounding, I've mentioned size, and I've mentioned shooting tonight. When shooting has been an issue since the beginning of the year for the Atlanta Hawks. They have been not a great three-point shooting team. From a team that Quinn Snyder wants to get up threes and make threes, the Hawks can't even do that. Like y'all do realize that. Like the Hawks have had some good games, but that's very much dependent on George Niang. Terrence Mann hasn't been hitting those corner threes like he was. I mean, Krejci has been good from three, but tonight, I mean, I don't think he even got a shot up. Where's the 3 points coming from? I think Okongwu made one. I think Zach made one. I think Yang made two. Where's the 3-point shooting coming from? Like people don't understand the issue with the offense, and teams have taken advantage of this. Is the Hawks can't shoot. So then you can just compact the paint, and then Hawks can't score inside. Then it's basically you have to play kind of some hero ball. LeVert save me, Trae Young save me ball. Where else is the offense going to come from? And like I said, the bench is where they're going to have to make those adjustments. That's where they're going to have to make those changes, right? I think the Hawks have to win to be able to get the Kings pick too. So you're in a position where you kind of need to win to get the Kings pick. So not ideal. Then if you lose, you could also lose the pick at the same time. But yeah, it was tough. I get frustration from fans. I do. Because you know, if it was a close down to the wire game, you probably look at it differently. But the way we lost tonight, it's frustrating to a lot of people. So listen, looking ahead to Friday, you have the potential to play Miami and the Bulls. Miami's a team that's beat you recently twice. So that's probably a team you're like, you know. But both of those games, I believe, also came in South Beach. So you've beat them twice when you've been in Atlanta. If you look at the Chicago Bulls, they've been playing some really good basketball recently. Giddey has been on a heater. The Giddler has been triple-doubling people and making shots. Kobe White has been exploding on the scene We know what happened last year with the Hawks and the Bulls when Kobe White did that. Montez Buzelis has played really well. Obviously, Nikola Vucevic, we know what he can do. Chicago's playing some really good basketball right now. So I think that's the team that a lot of people are actually scared of just because of the way they're playing. Miami obviously seen beat you twice, so you have to look at recently, okay, we haven't had a lot of success against this team. So really, realistically right now, some people are happy about this loss because they think Cleveland's a better matchup for the Hawks, which I think that's more, from what I've seen, is more because they just don't think Cleveland is that good. They don't trust Cleveland. They don't trust that they'll be able to break through this year, and not X's and O's. I could actually sit here and explain to you why Boston, where the Hawks could take advantage of Boston, X's and O's wise, and how they've been able to win games. Cleveland, I mean, we've talked about like literally that series. Cleveland's a very big team. All I'm going to hear if we get to Cleveland is how Kongu's too small and everything. Because Jared Allen and Mobley and them are going to, have their strong games, and we're going to be like, oh my God, we need a 7-footer. And then, like I said, I'm not saying that as no, we should not get a 7-footer. I'm saying that as you're just going to blame him because it's easy. He's the easy guy to blame in the situation. So, I mean, to each its own. But I think, either or, you're at home. So that has to mean something for you. You've beat Chicago. I think the last time we played Chicago, all the times I think we played Chicago, I think was before the trade deadline, I believe. I think all the times we played Chicago was before the trade deadline. I think. So I don't think we faced. Well, actually, no. I think the last game we played, Buzelis was playing. So we may have played this team once. But they weren't playing the way they're playing now, which is obviously really well. So Hawks really have to lock in. It's do or die. It's final game situation. You win or you go home. After how the season this went, if this team makes the postseason, in and of itself, you will view that as a success. Okay, you made the postseason for the first time in a couple of years. So you can't say the team isn't moving forward because you technically made the postseason. But at the same time, you do have to take into account, okay, we do that. Next year, be more expectations. If you don't make the postseason, it will feel a bit like the season crashed down and ended in a terrible fashion, which how it felt last year, where it just felt like, man, the season ended in a terrible fashion. And it feels like, again, this year, the season ended in a terrible fashion. So I think that, the Hawks, you wait tomorrow night, you see who you have to play, you get ready, and you just got to go compete, and obviously you hope, like I said, a lot of guys play better than they played against Orlando. You hope that Trey and get some help. You hope Gueye, continues his strong play. You hope Kongu bounces back in the next game. You hope that you get some shooting. You hit some threes in the next game. Everything you didn't do tonight for Atlanta, you hope that you get in the next game because you didn't get it tonight, and that would have helped you big time. And obviously, depending on whoever wins that matchup tomorrow between the Heat and the Bulls, could dictate and change a little bit about what you want to do. But overall, like I said, disappointing loss. But no, I'm not going to sit here and go crazy like some people are. But I also understand that the Hawks have to be better than what they were tonight. So we'll see what happens. But I think that's about it here for the Believe in the Hawks podcast. I appreciate you guys tuning in for another episode. Subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed the episode, like the video. Audio listeners, appreciate y'all. Leave a rating, leave a review. You listen to the podcast anywhere, any podcast platform. Believe the Hawks is available to the audiences out there who want to take a listen. So appreciate you guys. Also, follow me on X as well for all my takes on the Hawks games, play in, make it to the playoffs, all that. So Well, we'll see if the Hawks can bounce back. Do or die game coming up Friday. See what they can do. It's your boy, Bryce Lewis. See you next time.